Welcome once again to the Nigeria in America podcast. Today, I want us to reflect on something that has been generally spoken of for a long time. It's a question many people have quietly asked: why is it that Nigerians, when they move to America, spiritually they begin to decline? In other words, they do not carry the same fire, they do not have the same passion towards the things of God as they were in Nigeria. Let me warn here that this is not about judging anyone or comparing. It's about reflecting, understanding, and hopefully finding a way forward for individual. And this particular video is not just for people who are relocated, for people who are already in America. And I think the people who are in America need to do more of a soul searching here. I know a lot has been said about Christianity in Nigeria. Some bloggers and critics have gone all out attacking Christianity, and not only in Nigeria, even in Africa. But the truth is, Christianity is just as relevant here in America as it is in Nigeria.
Talking rich, our roots run deep. Nigeria in America, no dream to see.
Yes, we hear all kinds of stories about men of God in Nigeria and other African countries. But sometimes people forget that pastors are human beings also. Think about it. Doctors do make mistakes. Lawyers do fumble in court. Yet no one stops using lawyers. No one stops going to the doctors or doctor's office. In the same way, one pastor's failure doesn't erase the power of the gospel. There's no way man will ever be God. God is always going to be God. Having said that, I've seen people on fire for God in Nigeria. They were on fire for God in Nigeria. But when they come to America, the fire began to fade away. In other words, they relocated to America, but they do not relocate with the same fire that they have for the things of the Holy Spirit. So this episode here today is going to remind you that your faith is still very important and is still very much needed even here in America. Let's talk about some barriers to spirituality or spiritual growth or even spiritual continuity in America after relocation by Nigerians. First one is the basic needs that are met here in America. Let me say that again. When you come to the United States, the basic needs are met. I remember a sister who once traveled to Nigeria. She has never been in Nigeria, since she was born, So when she came back, she told me and said, Pastor, I can see why Nigerians behave one kind when they come to America, that the basic needs are met in America, that when I was in Nigeria, I realized that even to have an apartment for some is a challenge. Even after getting the apartment, the basic needs like a refrigerator, like a carpet, like a sound system, all these things are like luxury. So that I can see when they come to America, once they have all these basic things, they have a car, they have a house, they think that they are made. America will meet your basic needs. No matter what you are doing, no matter how basic the job you have, you'll be able to afford basic things. You move to an apartment, you have a carpet in your apartment, you have your refrigerator, you have an air conditioner, you have heater. You want to get a car, it's not a big deal. Once they meet their basic need, the fervency to serve God begins to diminish. In other words, a lot of people serve God more out of need than out of a genuine personal relationship with Him. So spirituality becomes need-driven. So when people don't have needs for those things, they don't need God as much. Maybe we call them God users, not because they have genuine encounter with Him. So once they are healed, once they have their breakthrough, they have the job, they have their paper, they have the provisions, that's the end of their spirituality. And number two is the fact that people are very busy in America. There's no doubt that America is busy. You see a lot of people, they flood churches in Nigeria because really they don't have a choice. They don't have a job. So in the morning they are there, in the afternoon they are there, in the evening they are there. A lot of churches even give food after service for them in Nigeria. Hey, if food is all over the place in America, so food can never be the problem. So you just realize that when you get to America, people are busy. A lot of people have three shifts. They can go to work in the morning, they can go to work in the afternoon, they can go to work in the evening. So some people, they just want to do two shifts out of three shifts, and they become so busy. So they are just going from one job to another. They are just they are just so occupied that the service of God spiritually becomes secondary. People who used to boast that they were always in prayer meetings in IVG, they don't even have time to attend any church prayer meeting, any church worship service, even a regular Sunday service, as we can call it a regular Sunday service. They are not available. Even when they come to church, they are just in a rush to go out. They are just hurried to leave the presence of God. They can't even tarry again. They can't even fast because they are always walking and they need energy from that they can get from their food to be able to do the work they are doing. So people become so busy and the fire they have for God begin to diminish. Let's talk about number 3, which is isolation. Some people will lose their spirituality because they do not belong to any spiritual community. So once they are isolated, before you know it, the fire begins to go down. They are not connected. So once they are not connected to any church, and like I said, when people become so busy and they lose connection to community of Christians, you realize that their fire begin to go down. You know, in the scripture, the Bible tells us that iron sharpens iron. So when we have an iron that doesn't have another iron to sharpen, you realize that the iron becomes so weak. Because people are isolated and there is nothing that isolates people, like when you are so greedy for money, you just want to keep working. Some people have so many projects, as they have projects in Nigeria, they have in America, and so many ungodly projects, and people dive into them, and they get, like we have said, they get so busy, and this busyness isolates them. So they do not belong to any spiritual community. Nobody praying with them. They don't go for any fellowship. They don't attend any, even no matter what you do, they don't even have time to pray. They don't even have time to read their Bible. They backslide. And number 4 is exposure to new beliefs. America is a land of freedom, and we really thank God for that. And that comes with its own challenges, which means you do whatever you like, you do whatever you don't like, you don't do it. But you realize that some of the believing in Nigeria is people just believe your spirituality is number one. And because of that, do I agree with that? Not necessarily. Some people would rather go to church than go to the office. Some people, they would rather just be in the church the whole day instead of being able to pay attention to their job. Do I believe in that? No. But I'm telling you that this exposure to new beliefs, that in America, you have to go to work if you are going to eat. Prayer alone does not put food on your table. So once you are exposed to all these new beliefs, sometimes we take it to the extreme. Everything has to be balanced. If you are not careful, you can take it to the extreme where it's all work, or it's all what the system. And when this happens, your spirituality begins to dwindle and diminish. Let's talk about another thing here, which is distractions. You know, with America, a lot of people, they have watched a lot of videos, they have seen a lot of things about America on social media before they relocate, and they want to be a part of it. Guess what? As soon as they are getting comfortable, they want to dive into the entertainment of America. They want to, without that, any doubt, social media is it contents with the things of God now. So all this party here, party there, people become so distracted. So you see that people work from Monday to Friday, and maybe all they have is Saturday and Sunday to do for all entertainment activities. So sometimes you see entertainment competing with the things of God. Or should you be in church? Should you go for a social gathering on Saturday? Maybe there's a church program, and then this there are other things contending with it. And guess what? That's the only days you have that is free for you. So before you know it, you are distracted. And this happens all the time, constantly, especially when you see that the things of God are positioned side by side and the things that are entertainment. People just say, well, I cannot kill myself, as people always say. You know, a man has, all work and no play make Jack a dull boy, or whatever is a dull boy. And before you know it, they begin to give up their spirituality. Number 6 is spiritual climate and culture in America. don't forget that the culture here in America, they don't make noise about their Christian life. It's not about displaying their Christianity. I don't know whether you agree with me on this. It's like Nigerians put their Christianity on their head, which primarily we call religion. But in America, it's not about being religious. I mean, people who are serving God truly, they are serving God truthfully. A lot of people believe that, well, in Nigeria, we are hot. I've lived in America for over 30 years. I realize that that's not true. Nigerians are not better than Americans when it comes to spirituality. It's just that some people put their spirituality in their mouths and in their body, but some put it in their hearts. I can tell you sincerely, American Christianity is more of the heart than of the outward. So, and this spiritual climate and culture in America can actually affect some people, where you see people that what they are used to is the outward appearance, where the way people see them, the way people think about them, or they're always in church, they're always in prayer meetings, and guess what? They don't have time for all that again. They are too busy to do all that again. They have not gotten to a level where they put their Christianity in their heart and let that heart begin to take over their life. Before you know it, they lose it completely. But that's the way it is here. You can't just be shouting. You can't get to work and be praying and leave your place of work and go to the place of prayer meeting. All these things affect people. So when you see people using the time of their employer to pray, the time of their employer to go for prayer meetings, and you can't do that in America, before you know it, their spirituality begins to dwindle. So let's say number 7 is I don't want to worship in the Nigerian church. See, when many Nigerians first arrive in America, they often turn to Nigerian churches. And let me say this, there are no Nigerian churches, there are no American churches. The truth is that as far as God is concerned, a soul is a soul. This is the way we define it in our church. We call it American church that is occupied by Nigerians or immigrants. That's the way we define it. We are a church that is in America, fortunately or unfortunately, occupied by Nigerians and immigrants. That's the way it is. So, and this is what people do. They turn to such churches that are occupied in America by Nigerians and immigrants. So in those early months, they are looking for help, assistance with settling down. They need information to navigate their life in America. But guess what? Before you know it, the comfort begins to come in. So they begin to settle down, they become more stable. And now they are now beginning to have complaints and excuses. So many begin to attend American churches instead. There's nothing wrong with that, because if you are truly looking for God, you will find God anywhere. But here is the problem. A lot of these churches, as good as they are, simply cannot relate to the uniqueness and the challenges of an average Nigerian. I've seen a lot of people, now it is when they want a naming ceremony for their babies that they now begin to look for an African pastor, a Nigerian pastor. It is when they want to do a service of song for their mother, their late mother, their aged parents who went to be with the Lord, that they begin to look for a Nigerian and African churches who will do that for them. And this is not fair. You cannot take the good and reject the bad. You cannot be double dipping. So when you look at this, simply they cannot. You just realize that all these churches that they go to, when it is now comfortable for them, when they have now settled down, they cannot meet the unique challenges of Nigerians. So immigrants don't always feel like they belong there. They are really barely integrated into the church. They kind of they already know where they want them to function. They don't let them go into the deep of those churches. There are areas they cannot cross. Whereas if they go to a Nigerian church, day one, they are part of it. They are introduced into everything. And guess what? Being introduced to everything means that you see the ugly, the good, and the bad. But the American churches will not allow you to see that. And don't also forget that some of these Nigerian churches, or I would say African churches, they are not as old. They have not been in existence for as long as the American churches. So they are going to have a lot of infrastructure. They are going to be more stable, more established. than so many of these Nigerian churches, because as you are migrating, as you are relocating, all these pastors also relocated. So you see pastors that are trying to settle down and they are also doing ministry work. So you just realize that the comparison, what they have to offer, the differences are not the same. So really, you can just only be ordinary members in all those American churches sitting in the pews. And that what that means is that the fire you used to have, some people who used to be leaders in churches when they were in Nigeria, now they cannot be active. They cannot participate. So their passion for God slowly begins to fade away. Let's go to number 8. We also cannot ignore the issue of hypocrisy. There is so much hypocrisy in Nigerian Christianity, and in Nigeria, many people feel pressured to go to church, whether by family, community, or so. Attendance of churches wasn't always about conviction, sometimes simply about expectation. And so because of this, you just realize that when people now are in America, finally I'm free, I'm on my own. I can do whatever I like now. Nobody is looking at me. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to please anyone. So hypocrisy can be actually come to play when it comes to people's spirituality. Once they relocate to America, they are on their own and they can do whatever they like. And because of that, religion becomes something that is not a priority. Or maybe say Christianity is not a priority, spirituality, prayer, all those things, they throw them out of the window. Let's look at number 9. Another challenge is that many Nigerians who relocate to America remain more connected to their pastors and churches in Nigeria. So because of that, they do not belong to any local church in America. So instead of plugging into a church in their new environment, they stay glued online to the services in Nigeria. Over time, their fire for God begins to die down because they are missing the key ingredient, which is fellowship. They are not plugging into any fellowship. They don't really have Christians friends. So what they do is they go to work. Before you know it, they get their phone and they are watching online prayer meeting, online this, online that. When it comes to giving, they give it to a church in Nigeria. They need prayer, they call a church, they prayer in Nigeria. So everything is Nigeria. So let me say this, physically they are in America, but their heart is still in Nigeria. So, and because of this, you just realize that they are not plugged into any church. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, Hebrews 10:25 in the Bible says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. So this is very important. Once you do this, before you know it, you begin to take yourself out. Just being online alone can't help you. Let's look at number 10, and this is the final one. We need to talk about the challenge of immigration status. The challenge of immigration status is real when it comes to Christianity. Because of immigration status, a lot of Christians get to America and they compromise. When I mean compromise, they go into unbelievable sins that you will just be saying, deacon, you can do that. Deaconess, are you the one doing this? Pastor, how can you do this? Evangelist, why are you doing this? It's unbelievable what, American dream that people misinterpret, the wrong information people receive when they leave Nigeria, make them to become. It makes them to forget completely who they are because they just want to plug in. I cannot be revealing a lot of things on this video because I'm telling you it's terrible. It's terrible what people do. People were on fire for God. People were sent forth by their churches to go and win souls in America. But when they get here and the reality comes to them, when the reality stare them in their faces, you just see that they are willing to do anything just for survival. So because of this, Christians, they get to America and they backslide because of immigration status. These are the reality, and this is my conclusion. As we walk through this journey of relocation, it is important to just pause and watch out for certain patterns in our life. This relocation is not just about moving from one country to another. It's also a season that test our faith, test your value system. It's a season that will test what your priorities are, what is important to you in life. And this is where we need to search ourselves, search our soul, and we need to take time to hold up a mirror and honestly ask ourselves, which of these challenges apply to me? Am I drifting spiritually? Am I letting the comfort, the culture, the pressure of America weaken my commitment to God? Am I still as spiritual as I was when I was in Nigeria? If I ever relocate to America, will I remain spiritual, looking at all and watching all that we have gone through today? Thank you for listening today to Reflection on Nigeria in America. Until next time, I encourage you to keep your spiritual fire burning.
Walking with purpose, rising with grace.